What is up, office hours? Welcome. I should say, what is up, Leverage Nation? Welcome to office hours. I hope everybody is doing well. Welcome. We will get this show on the road here in just a moment. This may very well be our final office hours of the month of July. Just to let you know, I'm set to fly off to Italy on Monday for 10 days with my kids, which I'm looking forward to. But I may do an office hours from my places in Italy. I would actually love to do that because there is something so satisfying to me about traveling around the world and still being able to connect everybody. So as long as I've got good internet access, then we're going to do it. But just make sure to squeeze in all of your important questions today, just in case, okay? I realize I have my Avicii still going in the background, so let me pause Avicii so I can hear you guys and we don't have any background noise. We will get this show on the road here in just a moment. Happy Friday, everybody. I hope you're doing well. I hope wherever you're at, the temperatures are reasonable because I know we've got some crazy heat waves all over the place. Even in San Diego, it's a little bit toasty. It's not bad, but it's a little bit toasty. Marcia says, yes, do that. Awesome. I will do my best, Marcia. I have two cool places lined up, one in Florence and one in Cinque Terre. And the place in Cinque Terre in particular is up on the rock that the village is on. And it's got incredible views, the ocean, the hills that have all the vineyards all around it, all the good stuff. So I will absolutely do my best because that's obviously a lot of fun to share. Let's see here. A couple of quick updates. One, if you are a Moguls member, okay, I have moved to doing office hours every Friday is my plan starting this quarter instead of every other Friday. If you are a Moguls member, I am giving you priority on questions on these calls, okay? These calls are open to the public, and I do my best to answer all the questions that I possibly can. But Moguls members, and for anybody who's not aware, Moguls is my paid community. If you are a member of Moguls, you do get priority question response on these calls. I want to make sure that I address anything that you have. So please, in the Circle community, in the Moguls Circle community, post questions there. And I will make sure that I address those, okay? What's up, Clay? Clay says, Moguls, woohoo! That's right. Awesome, Clay. Thank you. So let's see here. That's first update. Second update, while you guys are getting your questions ready to go, and just a reminder, these office hours calls are pure Q&A. And so other than this brief introduction agenda I have here, I don't have anything else planned. So make sure you get your questions in. And you can type your questions into the comments, and I will grab them there. You can also, if you have a longer question that needs to be discussed, needs to give me some context, some more details, things like that that are harder to, just type in, then I just put in a StreamYard link there. That link will allow you to join me on camera so we can have a little conversation and discuss whatever it is that way, okay? So while I'm waiting on questions to come in, I just thought I would share a handful of things with you here that I have found over the course of the last few days that I have found interesting and potentially useful to you guys to check out. So first one, perhaps a little bit frightening, but important for us to keep on top of and make sure that we understand. And that is that AI has tested in the top 1% for original creative thinking, according to a test done by University of Montana and some partners, where they gave it essentially a standardized test, if you will, that is meant to determine how you are able to think creatively and have original thinking. This is a test that is given to human beings on a fairly regular basis, and AI is already scoring in the top 1% for original creative thinking. Why is this interesting, important, and incredibly startling, perhaps? Is that I think one of the most common arguments that I have heard for why AI is maybe overblown in the impact that it's going to have is that, well, it still can't be creative like human beings can, right? It can only do what it's told to do and programmed to do. And so, human beings will always have that differentiation and that advantage. And I'm not alarmist about the long term of AI. I'm super excited about it. I think it's like the coolest thing in the world. And I think it's going to have an incredibly positive impact on the world and on life. But I do think that there could be some very, there could be a lot of turbulence in the short term to get there. While everybody is figuring out how to adapt and jobs get shifted around and all that type of stuff due to the impact of the technology. So I think it's important to keep clear eyes. There are a lot of people out there that are doomsayers about it. There are a lot of people out there that have their heads in the sand and think that AI is just this, it's just complete overblown, made up, nothing, no big deal here, nothing to see. It is, in my opinion, it will go down as one of the handful of completely life-altering technologies that gets created right up there with electricity, printing press, internet, all that good stuff. So I think that this particular thing is important here because it should serve, I hope, as a kick in the ass for every single one of us to be as proactive as possible about making sure that we're keeping on top of the developments and how to potentially use AI in our lives, in our jobs, in our businesses to get ahead, stay competitive, all that good stuff, because it is developing incredibly quickly. And I think that the power of these technologies is, I think, honestly, grossly underestimated by the far majority of people. And I think that that's a bad spot to be in. Okay. Next one, speaking of AI, and I spend a good amount of my time trying to keep up and learn on what are the major things that are going on in AI. Stability AI is a fascinating company. I would say that this is one of the handful of really leading companies in the whole AI field. And they're doing some interesting things. And one of the more interesting things that they've done here recently, I think, is this stable doodle. So this is a pretty darn cool tool. This is essentially now you can doodle something on a piece of paper, whatever you want to doodle it on, and upload it into Stability AI. And Stability AI will now take that doodle and turn it into an image or a picture for you based on that doodle. And then based off of some commands that you give it as well, because it's a language model, right? You can then fine tune that doodle. So, you can do a rough, sketch of a city landscape and then say, major city, they use an example with the moon, behind it, full moon behind it or whatever, that type of thing. And then it shows you an image of the city and the major moon. And then you could say, no, I want taller skyscrapers. I want, architecture that's from more of this time period, this part of the world, whatever. And type those commands in and it will, generate that for you. So this is pretty interesting for anybody who does any like mock-ups of creative design. That could be in website design, that could be in advertising, that could be in fashion, that could be in gaming, anything. My daughter is going to art school right now and she's studying digital animation. And so obviously things like this where she can take an idea and then quickly, produce something that is a more fully fleshed out version of that idea, I think is pretty darn interesting. All right. Paul Graham. If you are not familiar with Paul Graham is one of the more influential people in Silicon Valley, and he publishes this very, very ugly, outdated blog. And I think almost like to kind of like stick it in the nose of the world and say, I'm not going to adapt and do all this, highfalutin stuff. he publishes still on, like I said, just on this very old, outdated site. But he is one of the most influential people in Silicon Valley because he has a lot of just very, very smart things to say about entrepreneurship and about starting businesses. Highly recommend that you go over and read his recent post on how to do great work. And honestly, dig through the archive of his essays. He's just got some really, really good stuff over there. So I will be reading that. I just saw it shared recently, and I read everything that he writes. Let's see here. One other thing. I was going to share with you is this one. Code Interpreter, the AI revolutionizing programming in ChatGPT. You may be aware, so Code Interpreter was rolled out here more widely. I don't know if it's publicly available to everybody or if it's just people on the paid plan. I have the paid plan of ChatGPT, so I'm not entirely sure. But I think it might be available just to paid, but it's available to everybody that has a paid account now. Code Interpreter, if you have not dug into some of the uses of this so far, it is pretty stinking mind-blowing, and I think a great demonstration of the power of AI. That I think it just gives you an example of how it can really quickly surpass human capabilities in certain things, but also enhance our ability as humans to think and to analyze and to use something like this as a tool and to program and all that good stuff. It is pretty mind-blowing. I would suggest that you get onto YouTube and just do a search for ChatGPT Code Interpreter and find some videos where people are showing you demonstrations on video of how they're using it. But let me just give you a couple of rough ideas here real quick. One, you can take just spreadsheets with just huge amounts of data, just kind of raw data, and just upload them. And it will, within seconds, be able to essentially identify what this is and then give you some major trends about that data and just high-level analysis about that data just very, very quickly. And then also, you can then interact with it and start asking questions about that data and start asking it to slice it and dice it in a different way, give you different graphs, essentially anything that you would expect a data analyst or a financial analyst to do, which are very high-paid jobs. It can do, and it can do it almost instantly. And is it perfect yet? No, of course not. Is it error-free? No, of course not. But is it the early version and it's still mind-blowing? Yes. And other things that it can do is it can actually write code for you as well. So I've seen some examples of people like creating video games using Code Interpreter. Like, so literally they go into one of the in the Mid-Journey and create some video game assets, images and stuff like that, and then load those up into Code Interpreter, and then give Code Interpreter instructions to program a video game using those visual assets, playing Asteroid, where the spaceship has to shoot the asteroids, and if it shoots all the asteroids, it wins. If it gets hit by an asteroid, it loses. And literally, Code Interpreter, like within seconds, programmed a playable video game, right? Based on the images that this person had uploaded in the instructions. So it can program code. It is pretty stinking mind-blowing. All right. Those are my just kind of interesting updates, the things that keep my brain going. And I see some questions in here, so we'll go ahead and get into it. First of all, welcome everybody. Welcome Clay, Marsha, Jason, Ryan, Admin R2C Services, Steve, Mr. Robert Brennan, Inbuilt Gamers, awesome. Brittany, welcome. Awesome, good to see you here. Bob Marley, awesome. Bob Marley says, got his first sales call on Tuesday. Love it. Congratulations. All right, let's go through these questions. Jason says, when sending a cold personalized email to someone with an outdated website or few reviews, what's a great way to spark interest in marketing services? First of all, I would say that there is no great way. There is no great way doing cold prospecting. And I say that just to be realistic, because there is, just like in cold calling, there is no magic cold calling script, right? What you can do is you can apply best practices, and then you can hope that you reach the right person at the right time where those best practices actually resonate with them. Just like if you write up a great advertisement and put that advertisement out into the world with targeting and all that good stuff, that ad may still only get a 3%, 4%, 5% click-through rate if it's a very well-written ad, right? So when you apply those same percentages to cold email, you realize, okay, even if I do a really good job with this email, I could still potentially get a very, very, very low response rate. And that is what you should expect, okay? Now, sending someone a cold personalized email to someone with an outdated website or few reviews. What's a great way to spark interest in marketing services? Okay, so I actually have some cold direct email campaigns, Jason, that are included in my various programs, and I can make sure and get those to you. I can post those in moguls. But what I have found is that anything that you can do to, as you said, personalize it as much as possible. And so rather than just sending, mass bulk emails, if you take a couple of minutes to actually try to show specifically how in some way they are being penalized by the marketplace because of their outdated website or few reviews, I think that that is the most effective way to get interest. And so if you could take some screenshots that show, hey, look, when I do a search, here's how your competitor shows up versus you, right? And you can probably see how that's impacting your business. When I go to your website and try to contact you, here's a brief video that I shot on my phone showing you how difficult it is when on mobile, which is the majority of traffic, right? When I search for the best restaurants in San Diego and I get the results, and you can see here that your competitors all have hundreds of reviews that are all over 4 stars, and you have 3, and you have very mixed reviews. Like anything where you can show that personalization is by far, in my experience, the most effective thing that you can do. I think thinking through, this is really important for anybody doing cold email prospecting, because I get 10,000 cold email prospecting messages every day, and almost every single one of them is following just complete boilerplate. Like if they only knew that I get, their message and then 10 more messages in the next hour and a half that are using almost the exact same copy, I would think that they would be potentially embarrassed. Sorry, I got a fly zipping around there. But it just shows that they are just doing absolutely nothing but just bulk messaging me, right? So if you take that little bit of time and then you think through the fact that people hate cold messages, they hate spam, and they are being constantly told, especially if they work at a business, to be very, very careful not to click on anything at all that they don't know, because it could be spyware, malware, whatever, right? And so one of the big mistakes that I see people make in their cold prospecting emails is that they are asking me to click on something to go get the value of the email. So they take the time, it seems, to record a personalized video for me, but then they send that to me cold with a link to go click on the video and watch it. First of all, if you're sending me a cold message, the chances that I'm going to read it are almost none. Second, if I did actually, for whatever reason, read it, if you think that I'm going to click on a link to go watch a video that you've created for me when I have no idea who you are, I have no idea why I would spend my time doing this other than the brief blurb that you gave me, you're crazy. Like, you are putting up every single roadblock that you can possibly put up to me actually getting any value from this email and potentially responding. So your email should be brief, and you should do everything you can to communicate that full initial value proposition of why they should even listen to you and give you the time of day in that email. So if it's if you want to show them something, try and show them a screenshot where they're going to be able to see that image. And in a lot of cases, images aren't even going to load. And so they're going to have to choose the load images, all that stuff. But at least it's in the email, so they have an opportunity to consume it without having to take any other action. And then if you want to say, and if you're interested in learning more, I've shot a quick video for you to show you some more details, then at least there's a chance. I would personally not record that video until I have actually had some interaction with them, or unless I was able to record that video using automation and AI to do it at scale. But those are the things to think through, Jason. And again, personalized is the key word there. Okay, personalized is really the key word. If you look at the campaigns that I can share with you, Jason, there's a handful of strategies, again, that I go through there where, like, I'm including some customer testimonials in the email. I'm describing some other projects that we recently did for a customer and the results that they got, things like that. Okay. Absolutely, Clay. Absolutely. I love it. Let's see here. Have you started experimenting with AI follow-up for appointment bookings? Thoughts on it? Ryan, I have not yet, but I will shortly. In fact, I had on my to-dos here, hopefully before I leave to Italy, to just dig in more into some of High Level's recent updates and stuff on theAI, because I haven't really had a chance to do that yet. But I do think that there's going to be a lot of potential upside with this. I mean, if you just think about how important just doing standardized follow-up is for appointment bookings, which is incredibly important, right? Just making sure that you're doing follow-up emails, follow-up SMSs, things like that to remind people of the appointments and all that good stuff. That's incredibly important to actually getting your show rate to be decent. So I think that anything that we can do to enhance that process is going to be very valuable. Okay. Not only my first time joining your office hours, also my first time on YouTube Live. By the way, this is Mary Beth. Thank you for replying. Oh, awesome. Welcome, Mary Beth. Good to see you. What's up, Steve? Let's see here. On 60 Minutes 2 weeks ago, AI answered the famous poem's deeper meaning. For sale, baby shoes, never worn. The answer brought tears to my eye. AI is formidable. Yeah. I'll show you at the end of the call here if anybody's interested. I had a conversation with ChatGPT this last week. And I did this just because I was nerding out on ChatGPT and trying to understand a little bit more of where, how capable I think it is of handling like some tougher questions, not just the, write me an email for this audience with this, subject. Like, I mean, even that's really cool, but I wanted to see, like, did I feel like it could think and respond to me? I'll share it with you if we have time here at the end of the call, because I thought it was pretty fascinating. I will say that. Ryan says, for the free website offer, I was considering offering a one-page conversion-focused site. Curious if that could limit buy-in, or is it better to offer 5 pages? Ryan, I think it depends on who you're targeting and how that's positioned. So, as an example, if that was a landing page, so let's say that there's a company out there that's advertising, and you're like, hey, I think my landing page would smoke your landing page and really improve the effectiveness of your ad campaigns and save you money. So if you're interested, I'll whip you up a landing page, and if it works, you keep it. And here's, use that as the introduction to your service and your pitch. I also think if it's a one-page website, so not just a landing page, but a one-page website. One-page websites are actually, there's a lot of them now that are super robust and capable and the way that they work, you're kind of like, I don't know that we need any more pages. And I think that that is certainly true for a lot of different types of businesses where, they just don't need much more than that. Like if you've got a good design, then that can be super effective. So I think that there are plenty of opportunities where that could be really, really good. I also think if you're like a really early stage company, I mean, if that was a market that you were going after, so like a brand new business, that type of thing, then I think that that's, also a really slick opportunity to get in the door with them. So I do not think that I would not limit myself to saying that, I would not rule that out, the one-page conversion focused site at all. I think it's definitely worth a test for sure. Do you think Code Interpreter could offer Google, Facebook ad optimization insights? Absolutely, 100%, Ryan. But I do think that Facebook will have all of this capability built right into the ad platform in no time flat. Apparently, Facebook's AI capabilities are pretty stinking top notch. There's a lot of people saying that if Facebook were to just spin off their AI developments as a separate company, that it would be a hugely valuable company in and of itself. And that right now we're just not seeing a lot of it because they're, keeping it a little bit undercover while they work to integrate it into all of their platforms and stuff. But I think that and Google as well. Obviously, Google's got incredible AI developments. I think that both Google and Facebook advertising and advertising in general are just going to get completely flipped upside down here in the next 12 months. And maybe in the next 3 months, 6 months. I mean, whatever it is, things are happening so fast now. Because they have so much data, right? There is absolutely no reason why they won't be able to gather up all of that data on your behalf automatically and start giving you a lot of recommendations, automatic optimizations, reporting. I think that's all just coming full steam ahead. But yes, I do think, Ryan, if you were saying, so some of the examples of how I've seen marketers using Code Interpreter in smart ways recently is like they take all of their sales and all of their customer data, they take all of their ad data, whatever, and they just load up multiple spreadsheets, and then they say, hey, Code Interpreter, essentially like assimilate all this data into one thing and look for correlations and causations and all that type of stuff. And Code Interpreter is able to do that. And then you're able to then ask Code Interpreter to supplement your data with publicly available data that it can get access to. So as an example, you could say something like, based on the zip codes and average order value for my top 15% of customers in the last year, what can you tell me about, who they are? Like, so essentially like, what's the avatar? And then where are other markets that I should then target my advertising to reach more of those people, right? And so it will then look at the data that's publicly available out there, which, it's not going to be perfect, but there's going to be a bunch of data about, hey, these cities have these populations with people that are these ages, with people who have this much income, with people who buy, these types of things more frequently, homeowners not, all that type of stuff that match your customer profiles. So like, here's where you should be targeting your ads, stuff like that. It's pretty stinking incredible. So I absolutely think that. Yeah. Let's see here. Bobby Marley says, got my first sales call on Tuesday. I love that. Marcia, yes. What about a short video? I think that's I think we were talking about cold email prospecting, and I responded to that. Let me go over to, I don't see any other questions in the chat. I'm going to hop over here to Moguls and see if we have any questions in here to address. See, Brittany asked, is it good to do 1 or 2 initial customers as a case study at the beginning of offering your services to essentially get some momentum? And Brittany is on the call here. What's up, Brittany? Yes, I do think that that's a great way to get some momentum. Absolutely. It is, I think, one of the most effective and vital strategies to be able to sell more, of course, is proof. And so anything that you can do to demonstrate that proof is important. But I also think just as important for many of you is proving to yourself that your services are effective, proving to yourself that you've kind of ironed out some of the kinks in the service delivery and that you feel confident, like, okay, if I bring on a new customer, I'm going to be able to do this. Because I know there's a lot of people that are orienting their services around high level and don't really feel like they're high level experts yet or whatever. So it's a great way to get some momentum. And I think what I have always tried to do, and this is my recommendation, is that you always try to make sure that the customer has skin in the game. So I have never, ever, I shouldn't say never, ever. Maybe I did, like when I was like a brand new entrepreneur, a long time ago, like did some work for free for customers just because I was being overly ambitious and naive and wasn't asking them for any skin in the game in the process, and probably just wasted a bunch of my time. But at some point or another, I quickly learned that lesson, because I have, as long as I can remember, always required that there's at least some skin in the game from the person that I'm doing that work for. And so what I mean by that, I'll give you some examples. Hey, our marketing services are X, Y, and Z. Is that something that would be valuable to you? Yes, great. For whatever reason, you can't just sell them, which I would always try and just sell them first. So to me, the best case studies are, look, I got a paying customer, right? And there is that's when you have a business. When somebody will open up their wallet and pay for something. Up until then, it's all theory, right? So I always try to just sell. And then if I get to the point where I can tell somebody is very interested and I'm just getting my business going, then I would say, well, look, here's what I'd be willing to do to demonstrate the value of my services is let me go ahead and do the first month for you at no cost to you. And here are my asks of you if you agree to that. One, that you let me use you as a testimonial or case study or whatever, as long as I get results that you're happy with, that you let me do that. Yes. Two, that after that period of free or discounted or whatever, that it is your intention, assuming I do a good job, that you are then going to stay as a customer at my normal rates, right? And so, I just kind of guilt them. I just say, hey, look, if just be honest with me here. If you're not intending on continuing to use these services, if I do a good job, then please let me know that, because I can't afford to just do free work and have you leave. And most people then will be honest with you about, yeah, no, I'm interested or not, right? So I just am very, very upfront and just putting those things out there. So that way I know that they've got some skin in the game. One, they're going to let me, use them as a case study or testimonial type of thing. And then two, that they plan on actually being a customer. Otherwise, I don't want to do anything for them, right? So that is my recommendation, is that's how you approach it. And I do think it is it's a great way to get some momentum. Now, again, I think the best way to get momentum is to sell somebody something, right? Nothing is more validating and confidence inspiring than somebody cuts you a check. But I think it's a great, next step to be able to say, okay, let me make you an offer you can't refuse. Okay. Let's see here. Let me. Just looking for any other questions that I see in here. Nothing in here that I'm going to address publicly. These are some a little bit more private questions or specific to products and things like that. So I will wait and respond to those privately. So any other questions that you guys have, please type them into the chat. Because as I said, I have no agenda for you other than answering your questions. So go ahead and type them in if you have them, or use that link to join me on the call if you have anything that you would like to discuss that is more involved. Dorn says, I'm still busy reworking our sales process per the Mogul Systems call. Good, Dorn. I love it. Let's see here. I'll give you a couple of updates here real quick for anybody who is in my, for some reason, guys, I've got a bunch of questions that are showing up over here on my YouTube live stream that are not showing up in my chat on here yet. So I'm going to look over here and track down these questions. Actually, before I do that, though, let me just give you a quick update. That's what I was starting, an update on some of the resources that high leverage agency program members are going to have available to them. So one, I just gave you guys the new R4 ad templates. I posted those this week. Those are now also available as UpHex templates. I will make sure and get those out to you today or tomorrow. I have not done all of the troubleshooting, proofing, all that type of stuff to make sure that they're all perfectly dialed in, but they're definitely usable. So I would just say, just make sure if you're using them, make sure and just do a quick little test before you go launch them and stuff like that. But those are going to be available to you in UpHex. I've also got a webinar funnel for you for the R4 sales approach that is almost done. I've got 2 different forms of landing page, registration pages, 2 different forms of thank you pages, and email follow-up sequences that are Chase formula style to then take anybody who's signed up for the webinar and turn them into a prospect or an opportunity for you. So those are coming your way here really shortly as well. And then a couple of other goodies that I will announce here as I get a little bit further along. Okay. See here, Colby asks, any tips on honeypot posts, like posting a 1 or 2 line phrase in a niche specific group to get your ideal customers to engage and reach out? Basically, organic advertising. Colby, you know what? I mean, there's a lot of I know there's a lot of people out there that kind of train on that and advocate on that. And I have never concerned myself with like really strategically copywriting in a group to try and make it a honeypot post as you're describing. I do. Not that I think that there's anything wrong with that. Like I said, I just personally have not really taken that approach. I think the number one thing is to make sure that you are adding value, right? I mean, honestly, like if you go into any sort of group and you are a guest there, and I think this is incredibly important to keep in mind. It's not your group, right? So you are a guest in that group. There's a handful of things to consider. One, if you go in there and just do a post that is very obviously just trying to get you engagement or leads or anything like that, no matter how cleverly written it is, you are probably going to get on the bad side of whoever actually owns and manages that group. I see this all the time. If in my group there's an obvious like honeypot post in my groups, I just immediately kick the person out. I don't even give them a second chance. I'm just like, You showed up my group just to try and extract people from my group. Goodbye, right? That being said, if somebody comes in and demonstrates value and demonstrates value and demonstrates value, and then makes some sort of offer, or maybe not even an offer, but at least I can see, okay, I know what you're doing here. Then because they've added value and been a productive part of my community, I'll let it go, right? So keep in mind you're a guest and behave like a guest, okay? And I do want to stress as well, when I say coming in and adding value, what I do not mean is that you have to come in and drop these 1,000-word bomb posts on, hey, I'm in the group now and I'm going to overwhelm you with value, with my 17-point system for how I did X, Y, and Z, right? Again, nothing sets off the alarms of, oh, this is a marketer who's trying to just grab people from my group, than the person who just shows up and immediately has the 17-point, drop a bomb post on how they're the smartest person in the world, right? So I think that the most important thing is just to go in there and add value and to be an actual part of the community. And then I'm sure that there's, some smart ways to use some fancy copywriting to get some response. Honestly, it's just not something that I've ever focused on. So I don't know anything that I would specifically recommend. Okay. But I can tell you, again, from the perspective of somebody who owns groups, that the advice that I just gave you there is vital. If you want to have anything other than just very short-term success doing that strategy. Okay. Vic, I saw you trying to come on board, and I saw the struggles, it looks like, technology-wise, and I see your private chat. So just finished my own marketing software to give away for 14 days and then bundle some of the Go High Level solutions with it. Do you have a quick start plan if we sign up for your MSP and go high level through you? Yeah, so Vic, one, I think that sounds cool. That's awesome that you developed your own marketing software and that it leads to high level. That sounds like a very cool opportunity. So yes, MSP Academy is designed to help you understand how to create a scalable offer out of any services that you're offering, that you're trying to figure out, how do I package this up into a system that has scalability as much as possible. So that's what MSP Academy is all about. Do I have a quick start plan? I would say that there's nothing quick start about MSP Academy, if I'm just being completely honest. MSP Academy is, as much as possible, me trying to give an MBA on how to create scalable services based on everything I've learned in 20 years of doing it. So it is not short and it is not quick. It is something that I would tell anybody, like, if you're going to go through it and get all the value out of it and do the work, plan on 30 days of putting in some time each day to get through it. And it just is what it is. I didn't make any attempt at like trying to just, create a shortcut to it. Which I know, I believe me, I would love to be able to just give you like the super short version. I know that makes people happier, and I get it, because I want the short version of stuff too. I just have not figured out how to do that with that, because it is, like I said, kind of the MBA thing. So I think it's a great program. I think it could be very valuable for you, Vic. I just don't want to mislead you and tell you that it's short or quick. Terry says, I have some customers that only want Facebook leads. Am I wrong in thinking they are not going to be around forever? And what can I do to get them into a more sticky system? Terry, I love this question. And I'm sorry, everybody, that I cannot get. You know what? I'm going to try and refresh real quick. Hang on here. If I lose you, I'll be right back. Try and refresh and get the comments on here. Okay, I am back. Yeah, exactly. I'm trying, damn it. Okay, cool. That worked. Good. All right. Terry says, I have some customers that only want Facebook leads. Am I wrong in thinking they're not going to be around forever? And what can I do to get them into a more sticky system? This is actually one of my favorite questions, Terry. Thank you for asking it, because I believe that the right way to sell leads and sell lead generation services now, you may be shocked to hear this if you are somebody who's tuned into my messaging at all here over the recent months. You should sell your system. Okay. So yes, what they want is leads. And there's that saying, sell them what they want, give them what they need. So you can sell them leads and make getting them leads an important part of your service, but sell them that getting them leads is part of your overall system. And your overall system includes ads, landing pages, follow-up sequences, CRM, pipeline tracking, all that stuff to make sure that you're actually getting the benefit of all of those leads. Because what you know, and what I'm sure your customers actually know, whether or not they're willing to admit it or not, is that the far majority of businesses who are paying for leads are wasting a ton of money because they are not doing effective follow-up of those leads. And so what there's zero scenario where I would sell leads differently than that in today's world, Terry. And that's based on me doing tons of lead generation services. And also, what Sean from High Level will tell you is that the average stick rate of lead generation customers is about 90 days. And so you are not wrong in thinking that they are not going to be around forever. That is absolutely historically correct. But if you can say that generating leads is part of this overall system, here's what we will do is we will take X dollars a month and generate leads for you. And those go into this system, which is X dollars a month. And then at any point, if you want to adjust the lead generation volume up and down with your budget, you can do that. And the system stays consistent, right? So, and here's all the other benefits of the system. So the idea is we're using those leads to get them into the system and using that system. Okay. So that is absolutely the way I would sell it and deliver it. Brittany says, I'm thinking about our event boost services for local media. Yeah. Brittany, that's awesome because that's such a nice, easy service to be able to deliver if you're doing it similar way that I'm doing it. And so this is going back to Brittany's case study question, by the way, guys, like, should she, do some work for some customers as a case study? I actually did this with their San Diego. I did that exact same thing. I knew somebody who was promoting a pretty large event in San Diego, but it was a pretty new event. And they were really concerned about getting enough awareness and people to the event. And I promoted the heck out of it for them, tracked all of the data, and it was a awesome success. And I also made sure that I got to the event and got a bunch of footage showing it was an awesome success, and then wrote up a little case study about it and all that good stuff. So I definitely recommend, that's a great opportunity for you. Top 3 tips for a brand new agency. I love this question. Top 3. I'm going to try and limit this to 3. Top 3 tips for a brand new agency. Top 3 tips for a brand new agency just getting started. Okay, first is to design a specific structure to your services that includes set features, benefits, and price points. And decide that that is your product that you are going to sell. Okay? So this is both a tangible to do, and it's also a mental exercise that is incredibly, incredibly important that the most successful agencies get right, and the least successful continue to screw up for years. Okay? So the first thing is creating tangible service packages with set features, benefits, and price points. So I want you to be able to put a package up on your website that says you get this, 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 and this. You don't get this, this, or this. Here's how much it costs. Okay. Why is that important? One, because it's dramatically easier to sell, because your prospect can see it, can understand it, and make a decision about it. Two, it's dramatically easier to sell because you're not having to create proposals, custom proposals for everything. So it lowers your time to sale, cost to sale, everything dramatically. Okay. But then the other thing that's just as important about it, and this is the mental exercise around it, is to stop thinking of yourself as an agency and think of yourself as a marketing systems and service provider. Okay. What is the difference? The difference, you may think that's just words, Mike. It is not just words. And it's, I think, the most important thing that you can understand in this business. An agency is this business that does custom work and custom proposals and all that good stuff. And you're typically selling your time and your talent, right? That is a disastrous business model when serving small businesses. It can be perfectly fine when you're selling to the Fortune 1000 and they can pay you millions of dollars for projects. But if you're selling to small businesses that can barely rub two nickels together, it is a disaster because you are essentially putting yourself at the mercy of their terrible budgets, and you are never going to get ahead. And it doesn't matter what you think you figured out in your mind. I've been in this industry now for 20 years, and I've watched every variation of this, and I've watched companies literally invest $500 million in trying to figure out how to be a scalable agency to small businesses and then go broke and bankrupt and out of business. So trust me on this one. So instead of being an agency, be a provider of marketing systems and services. Okay. What's the difference? Very clear example would be somebody like a HubSpot versus an agency. Okay. Now that's going all the way on the completely productized tools side of things, right? Which is, hey, use these tools to make your marketing work instead of using an agency to make your marketing work. It's dramatically cheaper. It's more effective. It's long-term. It's systematized, all that good stuff, right? Another version of this would be like a Groupon, right? A Groupon is a marketing service, right, that has all kinds of benefits of why somebody would hire an agency, right? I want more customers. I want more visibility. I want all that good stuff. But it's a very, very specific offer structure, very specific pricing structure. We do this, you get the result. That's it, right? There's no agency about it. Valpak, selling coupons, right? And that go out in an envelope to homeowners. That is a marketing service and a marketing system, if you will. But again, not agency, right? There is some agency to it and that they'll design the coupon for you, but it's super, super limited. So the more that you can learn to think of your services as a product that you are going to offer, that is something tangible, something specific, that is not custom, the more scalable and profitable you're going to be able to be. Okay. So that's the first thing. That was a big number one. Number two is to do your very best to then set that product and the service delivery process around that product in stone as much as you can. And I say as much as you can, because the reality is if you're just getting started, of course, you're going to have to tweak that offer and tweak that process, as you get feedback from the marketplace and stuff like that. So, but set it as much in stone as you can, and then spend all of your time doing sales and marketing, right? When you look at the equation of how much time from you goes into selling and finding new customers versus delivering to customers, it needs to be almost all sales and marketing and very little time spent on the service delivery, which is why the whole custom model doesn't work. Because with the whole custom model, what happens is you end up selling a client, doing a whole bunch of custom work for them, and you spend all your time trying to get the website just right and rounding the corners and making sure the fonts are just perfect and all that BS, and not selling and not marketing. And so you end up with an absolutely disastrously thin pipeline, and you're in what I call the cycle of doom, and you never get out of it. So you need to spend 80% of your time on sales and marketing, 20% on actual fulfillment, which is why, again, taking that systems productized based approach is so critical. Okay, that's number 2. Number 3, let me think about it, because I only have one more here. One more. Number 3. Number 3 would have to be just focus maniacally on retaining recurring revenue. Really, again, if you think about the business model that is successful, it is 100% about getting and keeping recurring revenue. I just did a post on Instagram today about getting recurring revenue and being obsessed with that. And I will tell you, my level of obsession at Everon when I built my IT services company was that I refused to pay my salespeople commission on one-off sales, which was a very big deal in the industry at the time and a big risk for me that I was not going to be able to get good sales talent, because in that industry, salespeople would go out and sell a $75,000 project, setting up a law offices, all their new computers and stuff. And then that salesperson would get themselves a nice fat commission check based on that sale. I refused to pay commission on one-time sales like that, because all I cared about was getting recurring revenue. And all I cared about was having my team all lined up on getting recurring revenue. And if they weren't getting recurring revenue, I didn't want to pay for whatever they were doing. And so I only paid commissions on recurring revenue. And guess what? You sell recurring revenue when all you sell is recurring revenue. I know, mind-blowing concept, but when all you do is sell recurring revenue, guess what? You stack up recurring revenue. Okay? If you give yourself or your sales teams the option to not sell recurring revenue, they won't sell as much recurring revenue, because selling non-recurring is much easier. Recurring requires a commitment, right? It's a harder sale. So most people back away from it because they're just trying to do the easy thing. The problem is, now tomorrow you got to go find another sale and another sale and another sale. You never escape that awful, shitty place where every single day you're wondering how you're going to pay your bills, right? You've got to get recurring revenue. So those are my top 3 tips for a new agency. Top 3 tips for a new agency. And I got to say that those are stinking gold, to be honest with you. And there's lots of other things out there that's good advice and important advice, and you got to get right. But that's probably 80% of your battle right there. I'm looking over here at my iPad again because the questions are showing up over here, but not in my feed here. So let me continue. I don't want to have to continue to refresh my screen here. So Terry says, makes sense. I need to step up my leadership and messaging and push them into the complete R4 system. Yes, Terry. So this is going back to Terry's question about this right here. What can I do to get them into a more sticky system? Okay. So Terry said something very important next in these comments here that I can't bring up on the screen, but he says, I need to step up my leadership and messaging and push them into the complete R4 system. You have to this is, if I could give you a point number 4, back to the 3 tips for an agency. Tip number 4 would be that you have to lead your customers. If you cannot get yourself into the position to lead your customers, to be their leader, to be their guide, you are always going to struggle. Okay? What I mean, just like I'm doing on these calls right here, right? I have to be able to put myself in a position to take the risk of getting on here and being able to have a position on things, have an opinion on things, state what they are, state them with confidence and certainty, and defend them. Okay. Otherwise, you can't be an authority, right? The very definition of somebody with authority is that you've got to project that authority, right? So if you are not able to say with conviction to, if Terry is not able to say to conviction with his prospects, yes, we will absolutely generate leads for you on Facebook all day long. We can do it as better, as we can do it as well and as cost effectively as anybody in the marketplace. And here's why. Because generating leads on Facebook is not that hard. Anybody can do that for you. We can all do the research to find winning campaigns that are out there and copy them and put them up. Okay. Not that difficult. But what is difficult and what most of your competitors fail at is then having a system at their business to make sure that they are following up with and capturing as much value as possible from each one of those leads. Because you're busy, you don't have systems, you don't have the team in place. And so these things fall through the crack. And then what happens is you think the leads are bad when the reality is the systems at your business are bad. So what we do is we offer a complete system that brings leads in for you and then also make sure that everything else that needs to happen to capture the value of those leads actually gets done. And we do it with as much automation as possible to make sure that it's cost effective for you. And that's why the overall value of those leads goes up and cost goes down. So yes, we can absolutely do that for you. Let me explain our whole system. Okay. And now, Terry, what's going to happen is that just made a whole ton of sense, right? You're going to have a bunch of prospects that go, Terry, no, we do all the follow up perfectly. I'm not interested in any of that. And then you have either got to have the guts to say, tell me more about that. What are the systems that you have in place, right? And challenge them and push back, right? Or walk away, right? And ultimately, in a lot of those conversations, what you're going to end up having to do is walk away anyway. Some of those people you're going to push back on and they're going to come around a little bit and go, yeah, no, you're right. Some of them are not. This is the challenger sales methodology. And it has been proven that salespeople that can challenge their prospects with insights and thinking and strategies and do it in a healthy way, not just trying to be a jerk. I'm trying to make you better, right? If you can't challenge your prospects like that, you're just going to get pushed around all day long. And you're going to end up just selling leads and your customers are going to be there for 3 months and then you're done because you're not willing to show that thought leadership and walk away. And when you walk away, this is kind of like that lesson about selling recurring revenue. What's the way to sell recurring revenue? Only sell recurring revenue. What's the way to get good long-term customers? Only sell to good long-term businesses. That's it. That's the secret. And I know that sounds obvious and no duh, but the reality is most of us do a terrible job at it because we don't have the guts to walk away from the ones that we know are not great customers. They tell us they got everything done and we're not, no, we're not going to do that. Just generate the leads for us. And then we go, oh, I really want to try and get that customer. So I'm going to generate the leads for them. Instead of saying, hey, you know what, Terry? I'm not sure that we're a good fit for you. I get the impression from the conversation that, maybe you're not really interested in investing in a complete system. And I just know from all my experience doing this, that it's a recipe for failure. And I really just don't want to put myself or you in that position because what happens is 90 days from now, it looks like our services aren't doing their job. You're not happy with us. We're not happy with us. you end up leaving, you've got nothing but kind of bad things to say about us in the marketplace. It's not really a win for anybody. And then walking away. And a percentage of those prospects are going to go, what did the, whoa, because they respect you now. Because they respect you, because you actually held your line, and you're talking real business sense to them. You're not somebody just getting pushed around. And some of those people will go, yeah, get out of the door. Okay, cool. I'm out the door. Thank you. You just saved me a bunch of time and headache, right? But you got to be willing to do that. Thought leadership and actual leadership is incredibly important. Let's see here. Marcia says, how large of a team do I have? I've got like, I just added a person this last week that I'm super excited about. That would be 8 or 9. And they're all independent contractors. And I love that model, and I love all of them. I really do. I feel like they're just my team, and they're as loyal and responsible and all that stuff as anybody I've ever hired as an employee. I've had several of them on the team now for 10 plus years. And I have been very, very, very deliberate over the last 5 years in particular to only bring people on if I feel like I really, really have to achieve the strategic goal. If I can automate it or spend money to run ads instead of having salespeople, any of that type of stuff, then that's what I'm doing. And the reason why, a couple of reasons why, but the primary reason why has just been lifestyle the last 5 years. I've been very focused on, I just want to be home as much as possible with my kids as much as possible, still building my business, but doing it in that very high leverage way. Am I sacrificing some growth because of that? Yes. If I were to build up more of a team, I would be able to get more growth as well. But that's deliberate decisions that I've made up until this point. And interestingly enough, I do think that will, well, actually with AI, who knows now, because that's just crazy talk. It's a whole new variable to figure out. But I do think that I am about at the point where that's going to switch back into more aggressive growth mode, because my kids are getting old enough that they now have their lives, right? And just hanging out and spending all day with dad is no longer the priority. So dad's got to figure out something else to do with his time. Ryan says, I've always struggled with SEO first page services. Do you have similar offers? No. Ryan, I have always struggled with that as well. And I have never, ever, I should not say, I have not done SEO as a service in a long time. And what I did do as a service, though, and I think that this is actually still a good service, Ryan, is just the pitch was that as part of our system, where you're going to get a website, you're going to get a blog, all that type of stuff, we make sure and we set everything up to be SEO effective from day one. Because right now you got a bunch of junk. And it doesn't matter what work you're doing from an SEO perspective, you're going to have a hard time ranking because you got a bunch of junk. Things just aren't set up right. You don't have a mobile optimized website. Your website loads too slowly. So we're going to make sure that all of that is set up and maintained according to the latest best practices so that you're always at least ready to be competitive with SEO. That's an important pitch. And then 2, what we have done at various times is we have been the content arm of our customers. So we produce the blog posts on a regular basis and stuff like that. And so we're making sure that those blog posts are keyword researched and keyword optimized and all that stuff. And in the industries that we have served, doing that and doing like the basic citation work, updates to Google My Business and things like that has been enough to have a real a real SEO impact, even though I would never, ever, ever claim in any of that to be any sort of SEO guru or anything. And in fact, we would like intentionally downplay it. But just doing that basic blocking and tackling in the small business world was enough that they would all of a sudden start getting page one rankings. And we'd be like, oh, that's awesome. Right? We never sold it as that's what we were going to do for them. We just sold it as we're going to make sure that we're doing the blocking and tackling according to best practices. And that's that. So I do still think that that's an effective offer because most small businesses aren't doing anything. Doran, not kicking you out yet. No. Let's see here. PJ Valenzuela asks, top 2 issues every MSP newbie will encounter that they must endure and overcome. That is a great question. So the top 2 issues every MSP newbie will encounter that they must endure and overcome. So I think that this is going back to the kind of a similar, what's my advice for brand new agencies, top 3 tips. So these are like, it sounds like what are 2 specific challenges that you're going to have to endure and overcome? I would say the first and most important one for most is patience. And I know people hate to hear that. Like, don't tell me I have to have patience, Mike. Where's the fast money stuff, man? Come on. I hope that everybody understands that I am not a fast money guy, and I'm not going to tell anybody that they're going to go out and make fast money. I think that selling to small businesses is difficult. It's competitive. Most people completely underestimate the work and time that goes into it, and therefore get negative too early, and it costs them their opportunity because they have not really modeled out a realistic sales cycle and what it will take to get them to, let's say, 10,000 a month in recurring revenue. Okay, I mentioned in that video, actually, I posted on Instagram today, $10,000 a month in recurring revenue. If you're selling a $497 a month package, and just assuming for now, we're not counting churn and stuff like that. If you sell a $497 a month package, 3 customers a month, okay, which is not a lot, but it's also, you're just getting started. 6 months, you're at $10,000 a month in recurring revenue. That's not including any one-time setup fees you're getting and things like that, So you're at $10,000 a month in recurring revenue at that point. Very high margin recurring revenue. That's more than most households in America make. And you're just getting started. You're only 6 months into it. But to get to that first 3 customers could take you, if you're not real experienced with selling, if you don't put 80% of your time into it, as I told you, that can absolutely take you 3 months until you get to that first sale. So now you're 9 months into it potentially, right? That can be very depressing for people. And a lot of people go into it with absolutely no money at all saved up and thinking that, I'm just going to start making money day one. So all of the mindset around that and the patience and just being realistic about what it takes, I think is the number one thing for sure. Second challenge that you have to endure and overcome. I think very related to that is just hearing no a lot and sticking to your guns. What most do is they hear no 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and then they scramble and think they have to do something totally different. Clearly, what I'm offering is not working because 5 people told me no. Being told no sucks, and most people are not very good at it at all, at hearing no. And they go into panic mode instead of sticking to their guns. And it is my experience over and over again that you just have to be absolutely pig-headed and be willing to run into the wall over and over and over again. And that's not to say that you shouldn't be willing to adapt as well. Of course, you have to be willing to adapt. But if you just play out the numbers that we talked about before, if you write a really good ad and 3% of people will click on it, well, that's 97% of people that said, your ad isn't even good enough for me to click on, right? When you're experiencing similar dynamics to that, but it's actually you talking to a human being, right? It's like if I was single and I asked 100 women out on a date and 97 of them said no, that's kind of deflating, right? So just understanding that those are the numbers, okay? And understanding that you're going to hear a lot of no's purely because those are the numbers, purely because you probably still suck at your pitch. You haven't really nailed it yet. 3, you probably are not in that position that I was talking about with Terry earlier, where you can demonstrate real leadership and conviction. It's going to take some time to get to that point, unless you have a bunch of marketing experience, a bunch of sales experience, and so you just know. But I think that that's the biggest thing is I see people give up so fast. Like they hear no, they send out the canned email campaign, cold prospecting email campaign that somebody told them if they just set up, 10 fake Google email addresses and spam 10,000 businesses, they would all of a sudden have a flood of money, and then they don't, and then they just quit. I think that's the thing that depresses me the most when I see it, because it's just you're so close. It's like all you got to do is just be pig-headed for a while, especially if you know that 90% of what you're doing is right. And let me explain that. If you have bought into somebody's wing and a prayer magic funnel, you know, I'm going to get on my soapbox here. In your gut, somewhere down there, you're probably full of shit. Let's just call it what it is. If you bought somebody's magic thing and you are now going out into the marketplace with that magic thing, if you have any maturity at all, maybe if you're 17 and you've never done a damn thing, okay, maybe. But if you have any maturity at all, you probably know somewhere in your gut that you're full of shit. That the person who sold you that thing was full of shit, and that your customers are going to know pretty darn quickly, or your prospects are going to know that you're full of shit. It makes it really hard to last and be persistent when that's the case. Because there's this thing gnawing on you where I just tried to take the easy route. And guess what? Life isn't easy, and building businesses isn't easy. Versus, I hope and I pray, but I also know with total conviction that if you take the approach that I recommend in High Leverage Agency or MSP Academy, but let's do High Leverage Agency specifically because it is specific. If you take the approach of sitting down with a business owner and saying, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Small Business Owner, I know you're working your face off, and I know you want to grow, and I know that that's a real challenge, and I know that you don't have a lot of marketing experience or expertise, and even if you do, you don't have the budgets or time to go after it. And what that means is that you really need to rely on systems and automation to give you some advantages to actually let this marketing stuff work for you without having to spend even more time, more money, right, that you don't have. You have got to leverage systems and automation as much as possible to make that work. I can help you with that. That's what we do. If that's your pitch, you know in your gut that that is true. Your pitch may be a little rough. The exact details and features and price points of the way that you're presenting it may be a little off, and you're going to refine that. But man, conviction counts for so much when you're selling to others and when you're selling to yourself to persist on going forward. Having conviction because you know what you're doing is true and right, and you're not trying to just make a buck off of anybody, is the best way to ultimately be able to do it right and get ahead. Okay? So if you will just give yourself that, it will all be so much damn easier. And yes, it will take time. And yes, you will run into the 97% of people that are going to tell you no, and that sucks for a period of time until you build up your pipeline by doing good content marketing and attracting people who are hearing your message and going, that guy has some good stuff to say. Now, by the time you get into any of those conversations, now it's only 80% of people that are telling you, right? And then it's only 50% of people that are telling you, And then pretty soon, you're having almost none of those conversations because your calendar is full of people that went, man, I watched your 72 YouTube videos and read that blog post and blah, 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 and I am picking up what you're laying down. I just have a couple of questions. And those are the only people that you're spending time with. Everything gets momentum. It's a flywheel. It's a snowball rolling down the hill, getting bigger, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Whew, thank you for letting me get up on my soapbox. I love these opportunities. Yes, I don't want to be an agency. Yes. I love it. Let's see here. Ryan says, I'm having issues getting my A2P 10 DLC approved in my high level. I'm only laughing because all of our acronyms. How's it been going for you? Honestly, I don't even know, Ryan. I don't even know that I've experienced any problems at all. Because I was in high level so early, all of my numbers were directly through Twilio. I just did the switch to high levels service, not that long ago. And it was seamless, by the way. High level did an amazing job with that. I thought it was all so easy. And then I submitted all of my approval stuff. And honestly, I haven't even given it a second thought since then. So as far as I know, I'm okay, but I also could be screwed and just don't even know it. But my SMSs are still going through. So I don't know. Yeah. Colby says, I'm worried they will be upset they aren't paying for the service. They're paying for the service and not getting value until it's approved. Well, I mean, certainly if the foundation of what you're selling is just SMS, then yes. But I mean, gosh, if you're selling more of a complete system, there's so much more value to that complete system. So make sure you don't undervalue yourself and what you're doing for them. Okay. Marcia said, I thought one of your 3 tips would be to focus on one marketplace or niche. So Marcia, that one was definitely rattling around in my head, but it wouldn't be one of my top 3. And the reason why is there's enough people out there having success that they're not focused on just a single niche. So that's the reason why it's not in my top 3. I do think it is a top 10 consideration in the industry for sure, but not my top 3. Awesome, Clay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Doran, thank you. Kyle says Earl Nightingale's Lead the Field is a great book for this. Awesome. Thank you for the recommendation. I have not read that. Look at this. My comments just came back over here. Awesome. Kyle says Earl Nightingale's Lead the Field. Earl's, man, that's old school. He's a stud. I love what you said to Terry about asking the prospect to share how they have it covered. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Asking questions. Okay. I've done training just in the last month or month and a half, guys, on the secrets of question-based selling. Please, if you have not reviewed that training, studied that training, and I'm referring to my moguls members, please make sure that you do that, because question-based selling is the absolute, it is the absolute, like, I think, foundation of the techniques of selling successfully. You bet. Awesome, Terry. PJ says, Mike, when are you going to release your book? You know what, PJ? I have had some thoughts rattling around in my brain on that. It may not be too far off in the distance here. We'll see. Doran says, Cooch is our marketing Sherpa. Thanks, Doran. I love this. Coochian genius on full display. Thank you. Thanks so much for free share more than 3 if the mood strikes. Absolutely. These are top 3 tips. Awesome. Thank you so much. Awesome. Doran is always good for a laugh or two on these calls, gang. Gotta follow him in the comments. Awesome. Let's see here. I've kept you here for an hour and a half. A solid 45 minutes of that. It was just me on my soapbox ranting. So I appreciate the patience. Let me know any other questions that you guys have, if there's anything else. One of the things, again, just to fill some airtime, it was interesting to me as I am getting packed up for our trip to Italy. So first of all, my trip to Italy is Monday. Our flight is at 6:50 p.m., I believe. Okay. We have an 8 a.m. appointment that same day to try and get passports for my children because I realized that their passports expired about 9 weeks ago. And when that happened, the demand for passports is so high that if I did the standard passport renewal process, there was a chance I wasn't going to get them in time. And so I chose, rather than take that chance, to do the emergency renewal process where you have to wait within 2 weeks of your flight to get an appointment. So I called immediately at 2 weeks to our flights, and the last appointment available was 8 a.m. on the day of my flights. So this worked for me in the past. I was able to upgrade my passport personally when this happened to me in the past, the same day of my flight, and I was able to get the passports at 3 p.m. So I'm hoping that I'm able to get my kids' passports in time, that we actually still go on this trip on time. If not, we'll figure something out, I'm sure. You can hear the optimistic entrepreneur in me where I'm like, whoa, we'll figure it out. We'll solve the problem, right? So anyway, that's got to happen. Brittany says, sounds like a pattern. Brittany, don't call me out. It is definitely a pattern. So it was interesting, though, as my kids are old enough now that I try to take the approach with just about everything of, hey, you guys need to be self-reliant. You figure out what to pack and make sure you're packed and ready to go on this trip, right? Now, it is also a 10-day trip internationally. I'm going to make sure that, I've checked to make sure that they actually have some things packed, right? But I thought it was interesting as I thought that through. I really, as long as they get on the plane, and this is what was interesting to me, as long as they get on the plane with their passport, some snacks, any medication that they need, and their electronic devices, their phones, their chargers, things like that, that I'm okay. We're okay. If you get on the flight with those things, we're good. It is not hard to land in Italy and get some clothes. It's not hard to land in Italy and get the rest of your food that you need, right? And this can be said for most places. Some places harder than others, of course. But I thought that was an interesting state of a reflection of kind of the state of where the world is today, which is pretty amazing to think, right? Like, as long as my kids have their passports, medications, some snacks, and then their electronic devices, then I think that we are set. We are set. And that last one in particular, electronic devices, is the one where I was just like, wow, like they've really become that important in our lives that that's really the thing, right? That's really the thing, because if they don't have them, it's a couple of things. One, I know they're going to be bored on the flights, which that alone will drive me crazy, because you can't be bored on a 12-hour, flight, or you'll drive me nuts. And I love 12-hour flights. I love to relax. I love to get work done. So I got to make sure that they don't drive me crazy out of boredom, right? But then two, when they land in Italy, these are their connection to me if they get lost, their connection back to the world that they know in terms of keeping up to date with friends, contacting their mother, all that type of stuff. It is my ability to physically track them. It is their ability to make payments in case they don't have any money with them, don't have a credit card with them. It has some health information on it for them. It has, you name it, of course, entertainment, all that type of stuff. But that, can it be replaced when we get to Italy? Yeah, it can be replaced, but that would be a significantly higher pain in the neck than getting them, new clothes or something while we're there, right? All of our flight information is on phones, all of our train tickets, all of our Airbnb, Uber, right? They would be able to Uber using the phones. Like, I thought it was pretty fascinating when I thought that through, and I was like, as long as they got that, I don't know, whatever. Like, we'll get them some, we'll get them some new clothes and stuff like that while we're there. But I just thought that was interesting. It was kind of an eye-opening thing for me. Any other questions you guys have, let me know. Otherwise, we will sign off and let you get back to your Friday. I hope you have some good plans. I've got my youngest daughter is performing in a play this afternoon, so I'm going to be heading off to that almost immediately after this call, and then getting some work done and packing up for the trip. So the next time you hear from me, well, maybe not the next time, but certainly, hopefully, here in the next week, you will be hearing from me from Italy. I'll be posting content up on social, of course. And like I said, if I have decent internet connection where I'm at, I will definitely do an office hours call, or maybe even two from Italy. So as always, thank you very much for your business, for being part of the community, and for joining me on these calls. I enjoy them, and I hope that you got some good value out of them. And if there ends up being anything else that I can help you with, please just post in our community, and I will do my best to address it there. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm sure it'll all work out. I'm sure it'll all work out. Awesome. All right, then. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a fantastic Friday and a fantastic weekend, and we will see you on the next call. Okay. Hey, all right. Thank you. A little Italiano there. Be at San Diego, going to Portland on Sunday. Oh man, I'll miss you, Clay. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate the access. Absolutely. Thank you, Ryan. Great to see you here. All right, everybody. Take care. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.